Loading. Loading. Success.
130. Jesse, stop that cam for me right there so I can keep it completely over this fire line.
The clacking of my high-heeled boots echoed against the long marble floor corridor. It's the end of my workday, and I couldn't get to the elevators of the Marco Vital Force building fast enough. After finally getting my arm through the sleeve of my pink and black NASCAR-style jacket, I removed my long honey-colored braids out of the high-knee bun they were in all day. My name is Kryselle Nelson. I'm a 28-year-old Saturn African who lives on planet Saturn in the city of Burlow Heights. For 4 years, I've been working as a ringer observer for Marco Vital Force Corporation. A ringer observer, also known as an RO, is exactly what it sounds like. I observe ringers, among other miscellaneous things, of course. Every job comes with more than the title given. The Watchman facility is where new activated ringers go after spending their first 2 weeks at Marco Vital. Part of my job as a ringer observer is to destroy newly activated ringers who show obvious signs of being a danger and a problem upon activation. The Watchman facility, on the other hand, watches for problems that reveal themselves within months of a new ringer's activation. Ringers stay at a Watchman facility for a maximum of 7 months. If you show no progress after having that much time to adjust, unfortunately, you never will. As I pass by an office that wasn't dark, I see a human coworker of mine named Tessie, who is hard at work behind her desk. She too was a ringer observer, a strict and uptight one too. If there was ever anyone to tell to smile, it would be her. But I guess since Tessie doesn't naturally look the part, nobody thinks to order a smile on her face like they do me. Immediately, I slow down my pace in hopes of my loud boots not giving me away. Tessie is one of those ROs who seem to like getting ringers in trouble. It was ROs like her who gave us all a bad name.
Kryselle.
I nearly jumped at the call of my name. I thought for sure I was practically in the clear from her range of sight. I give myself a moment to sigh before turning towards her office. She annoyingly loved to keep her office door slid open for this exact reason. Considering that my outfit today has hints of neon pink and a pink glow on the heels of my boots, I should have known I'd be easy to spot. Now standing at her office entrance, I shove my hands into my dark blue jean pockets. "What's up, Tessie?" Tessie, as usual, wasted no time to be annoying.
Your ringer Peyton has been having an attitude problem lately. What's going on there?
I internally rolled my eyes at her direction of this conversation.
You know that once ringers start acting a certain way, the rest will think it's okay too.
It's fine, Tessie. Peyton can be a bit of a smartass, that's all. It's nothing to worry about. Tessie scoffs at me with a shake to her head.
No, it is something to worry about. If these ringers have no respect for us, they will have no respect for the law once they are set off on their own. What's going on with that Elizabeth ringer of yours too? She's been at Watchman for some time now. It's absolutely ridiculous. You need to get on top of that.
Elizabeth the Horrible has been in her Watchman facility for an extra 2 months. She also shows repetitive signs of being a danger to society, but because she comes from a rich family and gets spoiled by a rich father, it gets swept under the rug. Every ringer at a Watchman facility has a 3 strikes you're out rule. As of today, Elizabeth is currently going on her 10th. A few minutes ago, before getting swept up into chatting with Tessie, I was looking over a new headache-inducing incident of Elizabeth's on my projected computer. When she snuck out earlier today for hours, they suspect she left to go get some illegal work done to her systems. Money lets you get away with even the most horrible things, and Elizabeth was no exception of it. I've deemed her unfit for society several times, but her rich and important father always goes over my head and gets my reports denied. Ugh, just thinking about it is making my head hurt even more. Tessie, who is currently running her mouth about Elizabeth, was making my headache turn into a migraine. It was time to put an end to this conversation. Aw, damn. Sorry, Tessie, I have to get going. I turn to make my abrupt leave. I'm so ready to get the hell out of here. I'm exhausted. Tessie telling you how to do your job or talking about ringers was like the way she initiated conversations or something. Instead of being so worried about other RO's assignments, the girl needed to get a man or a hobby or something. I finally arrived at one of the 8 elevators lined up against the wall and lift my wrist so my Rio could access the door. After it opens, I step in, then lift my wrist again. Garage. The Rio embedded into my wrist blinks green, and the elevator makes a chime noise before closing the doors.
Now escalating to the garage floor.
I let out a loud, dramatic yawn as I watched the floor numbers on the small screen count down from the 63rd floor. This Marco Vital building had a total of 156 floors.
Now stopping on the 45th floor.
The Jenks elevator announced before coming to a gentle halt in the Tech Spectre department. It's where the Tech Marco Vital employees create the parts built inside of ringers, called Tech Specs. After quickly ending my yawn, the doors open and a man steps inside. He wasn't a bad-looking man. Around his neck, he wore work goggles, and he wore a hooded gray t-shirt with a glowing purple Marco Vital logo on it. His fresh haircut, bolder shoulders, and long torso matched good with the smell of his cologne and nice teeth. It was a knockout combo. Hell, I take it back, he wasn't just not bad. He was really good looking. He gives me a smile before facing forward and lifting his wrist.
Garage.
I've never seen him around here before, but it wasn't unusual to come across someone new at Marco Vital. Considering how large this place is, you'll always see a new face around. Everyone isn't forced to interact with each other, especially if you work in different departments. So it's that time for you too, huh? He looks at me with a smirk, then lets out a sigh with a shake of his head.
Yeah, I'm B. It's been a long, busy day on my floor.
I nod my head. Yeah, same here. Anything interesting today?
What day isn't interesting? Today we got a guy who used to protest Marco Vital and ringers. Yesterday he accidentally severed his hand and is now looking to get a robotic replacement. The irony never ends with people.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the century. Not all humans are accepting of the way Marco Vital handles death. Resurrecting the dead can go against many beliefs, and those types aren't afraid to express it. The man continues to smile at me as if he was just now observing my face.
I'm Seth. What's your name, by the way?
I smile back at him. I'm Kryselle. I work in the Ringer Observer department. Seth raises his eyebrows as he holds his hand out for a handshake.
Oh, an RO? Damn. Is that job as tough as everyone says it is?
I chuckle and firmly shake his head. It definitely has its days, but you learn to get used to it. Suddenly, a light beeping cello sound goes off in my ear. I'm receiving a call on my Rio, and the second embedded disc behind my ear is what was alerting me.
Hello, Kryselle, it's me. Pick up.
Says the voice over the Rio beep. I tap my Rio behind my ear, answering the call. Barcelo, I'm off the clock and I'm heading home. Whatever it is, it can wait until tomorrow.
No, I don't think so. Elizabeth just threw an RO through a wall.
What? How the hell did she do that? From my side vision, I could see Seth with raised eyebrows in reaction to my sudden outburst. The elevator announces its arrival to the garage and the doors open. Me and Seth step out and he waves his hand to me while walking off in the opposite direction. I smile and wave, still majorly distracted by the information that I was receiving. Alright, I'm on my way. I tap my Rio and hang up the call. I'll bet $1,000 that Elizabeth had yet another visit with a hopper. Hoppers are basically illegal tech specters who work on ringers and electronics illegally. Also, another pain in my ass as of lately. Rio, unlock and start car. I announce as I approach my dark and gray shiny silver Lexus. It starts up with a quick neon green light flashing then disappearing across the side to indicate that it was on. Within seconds, it begins hovering with a green light illuminating the ground underneath it. The driver's door slides open and I take off my jacket before hopping in. Suddenly, the soft rock music I was listening to when I drove to work earlier blasts out of my speakers. After a moment, my car automatically turns it down and I put on my seatbelt. My car's steering wheel pops out from behind the hidden panel. After a moment, a green light flashes around the steering wheel, then disappears, indicating that I could now drive. Now the cars operate with flying technology. Thing is, it was found that giving the general population the responsibility of flying vehicles in the sky wasn't the safest route yet. People are kind of, idiots. Therefore, the cars are built to hover closer to the ground. Only the military and police force have vehicles that have sky access. Also, the filthy rich. I grip my steering wheel, then back out of the parking space before driving down the garage ramp. I shake my head with Elizabeth now heavy on my mind and on my nerves. Fucking Elizabeth. It never ends with her. A large hole was now letting in fresh air from the large garden behind the building. With my hands in the pockets of my jeans, I let out a large sigh. How is the RO?
Well, he suffered a dislocated shoulder, a broken arm, a broken collarbone, and head trauma. His face, I believe, is swollen and bruised too. Other than that, he's fine.
My eyes widen as I shake my head. Marcelo shrugs.
The man is alive and will fully recover. Might not be fine now, but he will be, thankfully.
Barcelo is a casual suit-wearing Saturn African ringer. Standing around the height of 5'10", he's a professional counselor to the new ringers at the Watchman facility. As usual, his goatee is trimmed and his hair is in tidy shoulder-length French braids. I might hate it when he calls, but overall, he isn't a bad-looking guy. If it wasn't for the fact that he's a ringer and he works so closely with me, I would probably be into him. A lot of humans don't have a problem dating ringers. It's no big deal in this day and age. Working at Marco Vital facility can, for the most part, turn you off from even considering them romantically. Since ringers aren't allowed to work at Marco Vital, ringers like Barcelo typically work at the Watchman facility as the next best thing. This is ridiculous, I say with an annoyed chuckle as I lightly kicked a piece of rubble at my feet. What's the poor guy's name?
His name is Hiro Kuhaku. He was here visiting with one of his signed ringers when he spotted Elizabeth trying to sneak out through the garden. Do you know him?
I shake my head, then turn and begin making my way up to Elizabeth's room. Marcelo followed close behind while continuing to give me updates.
There's a tech specter on the way to put her strength cap back at 40%.
I look back at him with more shock. What's her strength cap right now?
75%?
My mouth drops. That's higher than law enforcement officers. When it comes to strength caps, ringer citizens have to remain at 45% out of 100%. Unless you can prove that you were active enough during your death plan process, that's where it remains. Ringer police officers and others in the same field, however, get a strength cap of 60% while on the job. The strength cap law is taken very seriously. There is even technology in place that reports to Marco Vital when a ringer strength cap is tampered with. Elizabeth finding a hopper to put her strength cap up so high without detection meant she hired someone that was really good. After getting upstairs and past the cop standing in front of Elizabeth's door, me and Barcelo step inside of her apartment. I immediately hear the echoes of her sobbing coming from down the hall. I walk past her untouched, unnecessary, decked-out kitchen that she didn't need and turned the corner to find her. She is sitting on her long, fancy couch, hunched over with her face buried in her hands. Across the room is a large blaring electric fireplace giving off purple and red flames. Above that, a large portrait of herself posing with her all-white pet tiger named Majesty. Sitting across from her right now are two female ringer police officers who seem to be interviewing her. I stop in my tracks to give Elizabeth one last look over before announcing my presence. Elizabeth, cut the shit. Elizabeth looks up with her pink, frowning lips and scrunched up, wet face. Her manicured hands shook inches from her face as tears continued falling from her deep, dark eyes. It's always crazy to see that ringers could express emotions with tears. I mean, they are machines after all. But then again, ringers are just an odd thing to begin with. Elizabeth stands up and rushes over to me to embrace me in a hug.
I was so scared.
She says through her tears. I look over at Barcelo, who was equally as unmoved as I was. I finally peel her off of me, then grab my magnet cuff from my hip holster and slap it on her wrist. Immediately, the cuff causes her to be instantly yanked backwards across her large living room. Both of her wrists are instantly locked behind her back, keeping her now standing up against the wall.
What? Hey!
Screamed Elizabeth as she began trying to tug herself free. I look over at the ringer officers who were interviewing her and dismiss them from the room with a head nod. They nod back, then get up and walk out. I walk over to Elizabeth as she continued struggling to break free. Well, 75% strength isn't strong enough for 100% proof magnet cuffs now, is it?
Okay, I get sexually assaulted and that's all you're worried about?
Is that the lie we're going with tonight, Elizabeth? Is that the best you can do? Please, do share how you were sexually assaulted.
It's not a lie. That RO was watching me the moment he laid his sick, disgusting eyes on me. When he found me walking in the garden, he stopped me and acted like he wanted to have small talk. Next thing I know, he has me pushed against the wall trying to feel me up.
Oh, God. An RO wouldn't touch your tit with a 20-foot pole.
It's true.
So, you mean to tell me you got all dressed up with heels meant for a dance club just to take a walk in the backyard? You want me to believe an RO of... I pause and slightly turn my head towards Barcelo. Barcelo finishes my sentence.
14 years.
14 years. I repeat him as I take a step closer to her. Would crap on his career just to grab your oh-so-special titties? You know he's married, right?
Being married doesn't mean shit. It's never stopped a man before, so why would it stop one now?
Okay, that's fine. Hey, Barcelo, you mind sending over that surveillance footage to my Rio? Elizabeth looks away with an angry look on her face. Barcelo's ringer pupils get a flash of purple, and in a matter of seconds, my Rio alerts me with a chime. I tap my wrist, which brings up a small laser screen showing the footage of the garden. The footage shows Elizabeth sneaking through the garden, hiding behind walls, trees, and bushes. Hiro Kuhaku, the RO, walks into the garden looking as if he were distracted by a phone call. He does a double take after seeing movement from Elizabeth behind the tree. After a back and forth happens between the two of them, Elizabeth pushes Hiro Kuhaku up against the wall and begins running her hands all over him. Hiro Kuhaku grabs her wrist to stop her. In reaction, Elizabeth backs away from him and begins angrily shouting at him. Hiro Kuhaku walks over to her as he pulls out magnet cuffs. Elizabeth, seeing it coming, slaps them out of his hand, then lifts him up by the throat and throws him through the wall. Oh yeah, I can see exactly how he took complete advantage of you, I say sarcastically.
You don't know what he said to me!
I'm here.
Says the recognizable voice from behind me. It was her human father, Hyson Lathrop V. At age 50, he stands around 5'9" with an average build. He didn't look his age, and it was a trend that ran in his family. Like Barcelo, the man was always in a suit, except unlike Barcelo, he always wore a tie. Hyson is the offspring of many generations of Lanthrops who invested in Marco Vital Force. He, too, is another pain in my ass, right along with his daughter.
What's going on here? Why'd she magnet cuffs? Remove those now.
I shake my head. Not happening. Her strength cap was raised to 75%. That strength also put an RO in the hospital. She stays locked up until the tech specter gets here to turn her strength off until her trial tomorrow.
Daddy! Daddy, I was so scared.
Hyson looks at me angrily.
So, my daughter still being bullied and harassed is still happening? Of course, she was pushed to get her strength cap raised. It sounds to me like this facility doesn't know how to keep its residents under control, so she had to take matters into her own hands.
I put my hands on my hips and stare Hyson right in his eyes. Your adult daughter is the one doing the harassing around here. Would you like to see the footage yourself?
That won't be necessary.
Like clockwork, I'm then interrupted by an incoming call from my HRO, Meg, the head of Ringer Observers. I grit my teeth, then tap my Rio. Hello, this is Kryselle. Of course, she was calling to tell me everything for Elizabeth has been cleared up as usual. After a quick, aggravating discussion, I hang up with her. I tap my wrist to bring up the footage, but it wasn't there anymore. I look back over at Burlow, who silently shakes his head. Frustrated, I rub the bridge of my nose before speaking to Elizabeth. It seems the footage that I literally just watched a few minutes ago no longer exists. You will be uncuffed as soon as a tech specter lowers your strength back to 45%.
Oh no, fuck that. It was at 50%. I got approved for 50%.
I take that moment to breathe in, then out, to control my growing anger. You'll be put under room lock for 2 weeks as punishment for the strength cap raise. You will receive daily video checkouts from Burlow. Other than him, you will have no contact with anyone. Your add-on tech specs will be shut down and the windows, including your door, will be covered and sealed as soon as everyone is cleared out of here.
What?
I lifted my hand to cut off Hyson, who began to speak, and I continued to talk. You can also make the choice of when you'd like to be questioned and investigated about the hoppers you've been using. It can be now, an hour from now, tomorrow, or after your lockdown. The choice is yours. Me already knowing your ways, I know that won't be happening now, so I'm not going to waste my time by asking. As usual, I'll write up my report about today and send you over a copy for your own records. That was all that was left to say, so I finally and bluntly turned to leave. Suddenly, I feel a tight grip on my arm, stopping me in my tracks. I turn to find Hyson's angry face with his hand tightened around my upper
I
arm.
had that man fired for sexually assaulting my daughter. Next, I'm going to have you fired for repetitive harassment and repetitive false accusations, along with unnecessary conduct. I would have gotten you fired a long time ago, but you're thought of very highly in your department. I warn you, back down now, before I make it my mission that you are removed.
Burlow steps forward in a protective way, but I snatch my arm away. I lean in closer to Hyson with an angry scowl on my face. Don't you ever put your hands on me again. That will be my one and only warning. As for Elizabeth, last month, your daughter stunned a resident here with a police force shotgun that was illegally installed on her by a hopper. She left the Ringer resident immobile in her room for hours until she was found. Why? Your daughter didn't like what she said. 2 weeks prior to that, your daughter snuck out to a party and left 2 injured people. One human nearly died from a stab wound, and another left with a broken eye socket. Why? Your daughter didn't like what they said. 2 months before that, your daughter sneaks another Ringer in here, proceeds to have sex with him. Then, in the middle of it, she dented in his skull frame with a heavy blunt object. Because again, she didn't like what he said. And today, your daughter threw an RO through a wall after sexually assaulting him with an illegal amount of strength. Because yet again, didn't like what he said. Any other Washington facility Ringer would have been shut down and destroyed for just one of those incidences. So, your daughter can survive 2 weeks of room lock for irrefutable evidence of getting her strength cap raised. There's no way to cover that up, and it's already been approved. She should honestly be doing a lifetime of room lock. Better yet, destroyed. But you and I both know that won't be happening.
Quiet!
Hyson shouts at me angrily. Burlow steps between us, shielding himself in front of me. He was likely protecting him from me versus the other way around. In all honesty, Burlow knows I have the skills to badly hurt someone. The last thing I needed was to get fired or thrown in jail for breaking a rich man's nose.
With all due respect, sir, I think it's best if you take a step back.
Hyson does as told by Burlow, then adjusts his tie as if to compose himself.
You're on that same hook, Burlow. You're here to counsel, yet my daughter seems to be having a tough time. You aren't doing your job, so we may need to get someone in here who will.
Burlow shakes his head.
I've done my job thoroughly, sir. Elizabeth is simply unstable and dangerous. I'm a Ringer, here to help other Ringers. I wouldn't lie to anyone about my own observations.
Screw you!
Look, I didn't want to get into this in front of her. I get that you want your daughter, and you don't want to let her go, but she doesn't belong here anymore, Mr. Lundrow.
You don't know anything about me. Reports mean nothing. You think you're so much better than me because you're Kryselle's little lapdog? but you're a ringer just like me. Difference is, you have no protection. You're more disposable. You should want us on your side. You should be kissing our fucking feet, you rusting, worthless piece of metal. I could buy you!
Bethy, stop talking. Everything is handled.
Barcelo glances at Elizabeth with a shake of his head before putting his attention back on Hyacinth.
Unfortunately, her time was up the moment she died.
Fuck you!
Shouts Elizabeth, who was now angrily trying to break herself free from the magnet cuffs. If she did manage to get those off, there's no telling what the girl would attempt to try and do. It was time for me to go, and it was time for me to end this. You won't be able to sweep these incidences under the rug forever. Sooner or later, she'll do something that will be hard to ignore. Instead of letting her go on your own time like you can, she'll instead be ripped away from you forcibly. Before any of them could speak to me, I stormed away and began walking down the hallway. I was officially done with this night. I was tired. Since nothing was going to get resolved as usual or working in my favor, it was time to go home. Talking to Hyacinth was like trying to convince a wildfire to freeze itself to save the forest. But Hyacinth says, fuck the forest, let it all burn. As I reached the front door, I suddenly collide with someone who was walking in. Since I was walking so fast, the clash between us bumped me back real hard.
Whoa!
Oof, shit, I say as reaction while quickly finding my balance. I look up to excuse myself, then realize it's Seth.
I'm sorry. Are you alright?
My first reaction to him was going to be me asking what he was doing here, until I quickly remembered, of course, he's a tech specter.
You seem to be in a rush to get out of here. Is everything alright?
Seth gives me a quick look over as if reading my body language to make sure I was okay. I shake my head at the thought of the situation that I was just a part of. Just another day in paradise. You'll be meeting a lovely young lady soon. Seth softly smirks.
Oh boy, that bad, huh?
I give him a look that said, absolutely. Seth looks past me as if to try and get a look at who was inside, but Elizabeth's hallway blocked off the scene that I left behind. He looks back at me and lets out a light sigh before speaking.
I got a call about a ringer needing a strength cap adjustment. I guess since I was the last one working in my department tonight, they reached out to me. Can't say that I'm too shocked that you're here. I figured I might see you.
I begin to walk around him. Well, not for long because I'm out of here. This is about to be one of those nights where your best job in the world isn't all sunshine and satyr rings, by the way. Just a warning. Seth lightly chuckles with a bigger smile that sent a jolt of butterflies in my stomach.
That's funny.
I needed to cover the likely obvious dazzle in my eyes, so I remembered an important order to give him. Put her strength cap back at 45%. No matter what she says, that's where her strength is supposed to be. Have fun. Seth nods his head.
I will try my best.
He says jokingly, then turns and heads inside. I then turn and walk off myself. Seth seems like a nice guy, but if there's anywhere to start an investigation regarding hoppers, it's likely the department him and his colleagues work in. Doesn't hurt to give them all a good look over, no matter how cute he is.